This episode of Cinemajaw is sponsored by Overcast, a better podcast app than whatever you're using right now, unless it's Overcast. Get the Overcast app for free on the App Store. And we thank them for their support. You're listening to Cinemajaw, the greatest movies podcast ever, recorded on location at Cards Against Humanity in Chicago. My name is Matt Kay, and with me is...
Rye the Movie Guy. And sitting in the fish tank is Filmy and Phil.
Hello.
This week on Cinemajaw, Matt, are we stuck in a rut?
Probably, yes. Almost definitely.
Yeah, we've been doing this Cinemajaw for quite a long time. Yes, we are stuck in a rut.
It's like routine now. We need to do something to break out of this.
And that is our topic this week, Matt.
Perfect.
Right?
Yeah.
Our top 5 favorite movies about characters who are stuck in a rut. They are under circumstances that they are trying to break free from.
I like this topic. It's good.
And
because who isn't?
I agree. And I think a lot of these times, these types of movies can be inspiring to people who themselves are stuck in a rut.
Yeah, and there's so many different ways to be stuck, too, like in a relationship, in your hometown location, maybe it's business, maybe it's personal.
I agree.
Any direction.
We are going to have a fun discussion on this topic.
Yes.
And we're doing this topic because we have a great guest joining us.
We do. Javier Reyna is with us, and he's a filmmaker with a new movie called Regionrat, which kind of is in the same vein in a way.
Yes, that's what definitely spurred the topic.
For sure.
And I can't wait to talk to him because the region is actually right next to where we're recording. We're in Chicago. The region is this area of a few neighboring counties or towns right outside Chicago, actually right across the border in Indiana.
Yeah. Yes, and we'll get a better description from Javier.
Yes, it's going to be very interesting. We were able to catch the movie, so we'll talk to Javier about that. Besides that, we have a whole lot more going on, don't we, Phil?
Oh, you know we do. We are also going eye for an eye on A Wrinkle in Time.
And we have a review of Duncan Jones's latest, Mute.
Nice. Out on Netflix.
It is.
Can't wait to talk about that. Plus, Matt, as Phil mentioned, we are going eye for an eye on A Wrinkle in Time. Has a large cast. One of them happens to be Oprah Winfrey. Mm-hmm. We are playing A Wrinkle in Time cast movie trivia.
Okay. I thought you were going to say Oprah movie trivia. But
not enough.
Okay.
Not enough of those. But we'll probably have an Oprah question or two in there.
Cool.
Sound good?
Sounds good.
Yeah. Plus, I was thinking about what a great, we reviewed and we heard a lot of feedback on our review of Annihilation. And it seems like lately we've been getting some very interesting sci-fi films.
I would say that's true. Yeah.
It's sort of a revival in a way.
It's a bit of a trendy subject or genre.
Maybe, too, with Black Mirror out on Netflix.
Altered Carbon.
Yes. Everything's sort of pushing the boundaries again of sci-fi, and I love it.
I love it, too. Even Wrinkle in Time, you could say, is sci-fi.
It got me thinking, if you looked back at like classic 80s sci-fi movies, if there is one that stands maybe a little bit above the rest as far as that classic 80s.
Stood the test of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about, man. Yeah. From our childhood even.
Yeah. I'd go there.
Early years, the 80s.
And how it's progressed, and I'm still a huge fan of it.
Yeah.
I think we're thinking the same movie.
I think so.
Are you thinking of
They
The Fly?
Live?
No, The Fly with Jeff Goldblum.
No way, man.
Brundlefly.
They Live, Rowdy Roddy Piper.
Oh, man. The Fly is so much more superior, especially classic.
CinemaWAR.
Ooh, you are going down, Matt Kay.
Well, let's see. I mean,
I'm not going to lose in 2018. I'm just not going to lose.
It's got to happen sooner or later, buddy.
No way. Wow. It is a jam-packed jaw, and if it wasn't enough, Matt, we are already into the month of March.
It's crazy. March Madness, St. Patty's.
I love March.
Bring it.
Springtime. And every month, we have a new riddle here on Cinema.
Indeed, yeah.
So we should always clean up our February riddle first.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's remind the jawheads what the February riddle was of 2018.
All right, here's the riddle. 12 primates with tails have I known, though I didn't travel through time with them. Although I've been around for a good long while, I feel like I am just a beginner. That said, like a fine wine, I seem to get even better with age. These awards prove it. There is no escaping my trap. When I sing, I am the captain. Who am I?
Wow, that was a good riddle.
Thank you.
And we heard from quite a few jawheads for a February riddle. They came chiming in. And I picked one out that I wanted to read from Tim Costa, who writes us every once in a while, answers most of these riddles. And what I like is in his email, you could see what he does is he writes down the clues and then fills them in as he comes up with the answers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So probably as he's listening along to the podcast, he's typing out the clues and then later goes back and fills in all the answers. You could just tell by the format of the email that came in. And I thought, I bet that's what a lot of them do when they're listening to the podcast.
Sure. The
And
Jawheads are resourceful, Ryan.
Tim wrote in, I love how you guys changed up the clue format this time. It certainly required more effort to hunt this one down. I had to start with the first bit, 12 monkeys, to filter out the correct actor. Nicely done, guys. 12 primates with his tails have I known, though I didn't travel through time with them. He puts dash, 12 monkeys. Then he writes down, although I've been around for a good long while, I feel like I'm just a teenager, dash, the beginners, or beginners. That said, like a fine wine, I seem to get even better with age. These awards prove it. Won Oscar, Golden Globe, BAFTA for beginners, most recently nominated for an Oscar for All the Money in the World. And then in his final clue, there's no escaping my trap when I'm singing I'm the Captain, arguably his best known role as Captain Van Trapp, The Sound of Music. The answer is Christopher Plummer, and that is correct.
Yes.
Yes. Well done, Tim. I like it. And he goes on to say, keep up the good work, fellas. I look forward to this every month. Everybody does. So we have to keep it going here, Matt.
Yeah.
So I am going to draw a winner here.
Okay.
All right. Into the jaw hat we go. And the winner is Travis Johnson.
Okay, yeah.
And we've heard from Travis a couple
Sure.
times. Travis, write us your address, feedback@cinemajaw.com. We will get a prize pack out to you. And well done.
Well done, Travis. I'm chomping at the bit for the February riddle.
Oh, man. This one, here we go, Matt. You mean the March riddle.
The March riddle.
Yeah, you are off on your months here, Matt.
I am.
Let's do it. This is CinemaJaw's March riddle. If you know this, write us feedback@cinemajaw.com.
Here we go. Sometimes my choice in partners is dubious. I was with my teacher, a cruel man, and even a serial killer. But my time with Spider-Man was rather pleasant. But you know, I love to hike. The thing with pachyderms is you need to keep them hydrated. Vote for me. Who am I?
If you know the answer to the March riddle, write us feedback@cinemajaw.com. And like we said, you could win a prize pack.
And it's fun stuff, too.
It
Do
is.
it. Do it.
That's a tough one for March, Matt.
I know you were kind of stumped by it.
I know. It took me a little while. I like it. So without further ado, Matt, let's get this thing rolling here. We got a great guest who's joining us via Skype. I don't know where Javier's calling in from, but Javier Reyna has directed Regionrat. And you can also hear him talking about filmmaking to a large degree on something called the Grimster. Javier, welcome to CinemaJaw.
Hello, guys.
Javier, where are you calling in from?
I'm in Orange County, California, in Newport Beach.
Oh, beautiful down there.
Yes, it is.
We're
With freezing 55 degrees. Yeah.
Yeah, don't complain to us, man. We're in Chicago.
Oh,
Chilly.
I know.
So we were talking about Regionrat, and you probably heard us describing it as Regionrat. It is based on the region here in Northwest Indiana. Now, this was actually based on a book.
That's correct.
And I don't know. I haven't heard, or I guess I'm intrigued on how you came across the book and decided to turn this into a movie.
Sure. And this is part of what the recordings I've been doing is because it's been taking so long to make it, and people kept asking why did it take 13 years to make this little movie. So I I kept all my emails with the writer and Richard Laskowski, and I tried to tell the story of what happened. But basically, I had just done a short film called Legwork. That this is 2004, and the film had gone around the festival circuit and getting some awards. And I really wanted to do something larger, but I was not at that point. I wasn't a writer. I didn't like to write because it takes a lot of work and a lot of research, and I felt like I didn't have that kind of time for that. And a friend of mine, her name is Keela, which is a girl from the region. She was married to a friend of mine who I directed a music video for, anyway, she told me that she was aware that I was looking for a good subject for a new movie. And she knew this guy from high school, Richard Laskowski, who had written this book called Regionrat. And she asked me if I was willing to take a look at it because she thought this could make an interesting film. And she got me in touch with Richard, and he sent me the book, and I read it. And that was basically the beginning of it. The book was really big. It's like about 500 pages. And I asked him if he was interested in writing a screenplay, based on his book, which he said no. He had spent so much time in this book, he just didn't want to do it anymore.
Sure.
He said, I'd rather pour boiling oil into my eyeballs than look at this anymore.
Well, at least he was honest.
Yeah, he wrote it, and editing and all that stuff takes forever. So I heard myself asking, will you let me do an adaptation of the book? And he said yes. And that was the beginning of it.
So were you very familiar with, quote unquote, the region?
No. I have no idea what that was.
I was going to say, I was doing, my little bit of research here to getting ready for the podcast. And, and congratulations. I've seen Regionrat. I watched a screener of it yesterday. It's an excellent film. And
thank you.
And I'm watching it and I'm thinking, well, I'm slightly familiar with the region. I've heard it used before because it's so close to us. But I thought, how did this guy Javier, who all I could tell was from California, come across a movie so intimate with this region of Northwest Indiana? It was confusing.
That's
to
what
me.
made me curious. That I didn't know anything about it. I'm an ignorant. So when I read this book about this kid who had such a different life than what I have, you just got to be curious.
And
so,
yeah, I do want to sort of describe the plot here for the listeners. Because I think too the other thing is when you say sort of the byline, if you will, that this is sort of a stoner comedy to some degree, and it takes place in the 90s, you're going to get the wrong idea here. You're not going to understand just how deep the actual story is.
How deep it goes, yeah.
And I make a point, it's not a comedy at all. The film has to happen to have a lot of humor in it.
True.
It's a drama.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I guess you can say a dramedy. You laugh at a lot of, I guess the humor is something that you would have growing up amongst your friends,
I think I can describe it. So these are familiar characters, right? I mean, we've seen the stoners in so many classic, especially 90s movies like Clerks and Dazed and Confused. So they don't feel strange to us. But then when we see where you take them, it is to some dramatic places. So that's why you want to put the comedy stamp on it from the outset.
Well, it's when you have a movie that, when I read it, the first thing got to me was that, and again, it was a lifestyle I didn't understand. Also, I had just become a father. And when I learned that there is these kids in this country, there is this underground, this subculture where they have nothing going on, and maybe making it to becoming a fry manager at McDonald's means you made it. It made me realize that, a lot of kids just don't have that guidance, and they're out there to do to themselves whatever they can, guided by their own instincts. And when you're 18, you don't have great instincts or logic. And it made me realize that there was a little problem here. And after talking to a few people in the last couple of years, sounds like the region per se is probably getting better.
Mm-hmm.
But back then, if you talk to Richard, the author, if you were under 21, what is there to do? Let's go party.
Yeah.
Right. And this is before the internet.
Exactly.
I mean, I have a similar background.
And you will see the haircuts, and they still were wearing mullets, and some people still wear mullets. But
yeah, but I did want to bring that up, Javier. I thought that the casting and like the costumes and just the look was so authentic. A lot of times you see these movies where it has like the idea like they're trying to look like 90s stoner.
It's like a caricature.
This actually looked like it could have been made in the 90s.
I agree.
It was so authentic.
The biggest goal we had was to make it feel real. Like I said, I didn't want it to make it feel like a stoner comedy, but I didn't want it to be a serious movie to the point where it becomes a lecture, and who wants to watch that? So I figured if I kept the humor of his experiences, while going through his personal experience, it becomes palatable where you listen to the guy, you go in with him, his thoughts. But with humor, I think it's easier for anybody to swallow the drama.
Mm-hmm.
And the clothes and all that stuff, like I said, we try to keep it simple. I try not to make a cartoon out of it, stereotype. We wanted just to feel as real as possible. And through the years, I mean, we could have fallen into that because part of the problem making this movie, like any other film, is the finance.
Mm-hmm.
And we will be offered, hey, can you do this? Can you put a lesbian scene here and there, or show a little ass here and there, a little sex scene, because that's what sells? Can we make it a horror end to it? And our goal was always just to keep it as real as possible. So that was part of the reason it took forever.
That's what I was going to ask you. Speaking of the finances, you mentioned earlier that this took you a number of years. How did you pitch this and raise the finances, and how long did it take you to shoot this thing?
Well, this conversation I had with Richard when I got the book was 2004.
That's a long time ago. Yeah.
And we just premiered the movie last January.
I mean, actors have got to be aging out of roles, I mean, at that point, right?
Yeah.
How did you deal with those challenges?
This movie was cast 3 or 4 times. And
Wow.
every time my cast will get famous and old.
Yeah.
In 2004, when I first cast this movie, somebody in Indiana was willing to put $1 million so we could make the film. And I sent the script to casting director in LA. And he sent the breakdowns out there to the agencies, and we got all this interest. And we had people attached at that point, like Hayden Panettiere,
Sure.
which is now huge, American Ferrara, Laura Prepon from Orange is the New Black, and all these kids that were Glenn Crawford, which is now in the TV show, the Lethal Weapon version of the movie, and all these kids. But 3 years later, we don't have the cast. The movie's not made. The kids now they're 25.
Yeah.
And we keep looking for money, and the movie fell apart for one reason or another. The money's there, and all of a sudden, just poof, it's gone.
Oh man, well, you got to love the persistency of Javier to get this thing done.
Yeah.
And now it's finally made, and you go out and you actually premiere it. I believe it's maybe the premiere. I know you were at least entered to the film festival out in Arizona, where you went and took the top prize.
That's the Chandler in Film Festival. Yes, that was our world premiere, and they were kind enough. They gave us the best feature film, which was very fulfilling after all these years. To somebody liked it, so it wasn't just us. That we thought there was a good story in there.
It's worth the wait.
Yes. So what is the plan now? What's the rollout? Is it still trying to go out into festivals, all that kind of good stuff?
The problem with the way this works with these little movies that don't have celebrities is that you got to sell it.
Mm-hmm.
And to sell the movie, the first question they ask you is who's in the movie that's going to bring some asses to the theaters.
Mm-hmm.
So in the case of films like this, they're very micro budget design and no celebrities. You have to go to the festival circuit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, festivals, for instance, like in the case of First Glance, which is going to be next week, we submitted 6 months ago. It just takes forever to get to that point.
Yep.
Take the submissions, they get 2,000 submissions, they go through all that stuff, and they pick up their choices for the selections. And so we're going through all this process of showing it to as many people as we can, hopefully get some awards here and there, and hopefully find a good home for the movie, a good distributor that will take it to more people.
Yeah, I hope
That's
so.
sort of the goal.
Yeah, for sure. Because I can definitely give the stamp of approval on Regionrat. I liked it a lot. And then I think we have to bring up the very interesting fact. You say it's not necessarily a podcast, so I'd like to hear you describe exactly what it is, Javier. The Grimster, which is basically, I think it's a podcast on the making or such of Regionrat.
Well, after all these 13 years, and we will have the Facebook page, eventually people will be like, hey guys, you've been talking about this movie for 5 years and 10 years. What's going on? We're trying, but people don't know what it takes like,
Sure.
it's like to do this thing. So I was originally going to try to write a book about all this stuff and hopefully put it out there and people at least read it. But I kept thinking, well, it's not really a book about how to make a movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about how not to make a film because we made a lot of naive mistakes. And the more and more questions I got, I say, okay, by the time the movie's done, by the time I put a book, and now I try to get a publisher, fuck it. I got a mic and I put my laptop and I started talking. And I said, okay, guys, this is what happened.
Yes.
I said, this is how I met Richard. This is what happened with these guys. This is what happened with these other guys. And it was kind of like a journal going from year to year to month. And all of a sudden you're like, it's been 2 years and this happened. It's been 3 years and this happened.
Wow.
And it took me about, the podcast, they're only like 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go into detail because I was going to put people to sleep. On top of that, as you can tell, I have a heavy Spanish accent, and people told me I sound like I have marbles in my mouth, which I get. And eventually, I will talk until I got tired, 10 minutes, well, probably 20 minutes, and edit it down where pieces I could understand myself. And I did about 6 episodes, and I finished the story. I don't know if I'm going to keep going or not. I noticed in the last one, I felt just like venting about some other shit.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed that part. I go, oh, maybe I want to do this more. It's funny because I finished and then I started to miss the microphone, which was really weird.
No, I get it, man.
Yeah.
And it's good that you left it open-ended because now you can come back to it.
Because, Javier, I'm thinking probably in about 10 years, James Franco may make a movie called The Grimster.
Oh, great. Yeah, that'll be great. Maybe he'll show me his penis too.
Oh, man, good stuff. Now, Javier, for the listeners that want to check out Regionrat, they want to follow along, see if it's going to play in a festival near them, or just support the film and local filmmakers, where's the best place to do that online?
Well, obviously, all the updates are always on Twitter, Regionrat Movie, and Facebook. That's the only sources we have to put the information out there. Or we have a website, which is regionratmovie.com. And every time we have a new venue, we tell everybody, like we knew Chandler, we advertise it. Now we're going to have our West Coast or LA Hollywood premiere at the First Glance Film Festival, and it's going to be on not this Saturday, the next one, March 10th at 8 p.m. We're going to have the LA premiere. And this is a very reputable festival, and they only took 6 features, and we were one of them. So we were pretty excited about that part.
That's awesome.
We just found out we're going to play in Victoria, Texas. And those are the ones that we've been told now. Now, there's other ones that we're waiting to see. People, especially in the region area, they're asking us, are we going to bring the movie up there? So, we're trying places like Chicago, somewhere in Indiana. And it's just a matter of them allowing us to do it and, choosing the film or not. So we're just waiting. It's a matter of they announce in the next couple of months.
Yeah, well, if it's Chicago or, the region, which isn't too far from us, let us know, and we'll definitely trek over there.
Yeah,
and,
I believe submitted to a place called festival called the Blue Whiskey Film Festival.
I think I've heard of it.
And the Underground Chicago Film Festival.
yes.
Oh, yeah, I know that one.
The one in Indiana and one in Fort Wayne. So those are the 4 that get the closest to that area.
Nice.
Yeah, but we'll see,
Yeah.
Festival is I mean, at certain point, it's like a lottery ticket because there's so much product out there, especially now everybody's making movies with iPhones.
Yeah.
So these festivals getting inundated with submissions.
I hear you. Now, Javier, we like to end all of our guest interviews with some, we used to call them silly cinema cues, but they keep getting more and more serious. Phil, do you have something easier for Javier?
Yeah, this one's multiple choice, so it should be pretty easy. Since Regionrat is a film based on a book, if you could just wipe it clean and redo one of these other movies that are based on books, which one would you choose? The Da Vinci Code, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, or the Cat in the Hat movie?
Okay, so I'm trying to follow the question. Which one would I want to remake?
Yeah.
but like if I just took over and want to do the film myself.
Right. You're erasing the previous entry and doing one yourself.
Okay, based on the same book. What was the first one?
That one was the Da Vinci Code.
Okay, that was too complicated for my head. Probably the Cat in the Hat.
Yes.
That is the correct answer,
No
by the way.
doubt. I think so. You can only go that one. Another one, Phil, or is that it?
That one was it. That's all I had.
Good stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, Javier, do you have your own personal Twitter handle also, or no?
Yeah, I think Grimster dude. I just have it because I follow the Regionrat movie
Sure.
one, and I try to retweet and all that stuff. Social media. Keep in mind, I'm an old guy. I'm 53. All these things to me are way beyond. I don't understand social media at all.
Yeah.
So I'm right there with you.
We'll guide them all to Regionrat movie for sure. Good stuff. So Javier is sitting in on this entire job, Matt. He has his top 5 movies about getting out of a rut, much like getting out of a region, if you will.
Yeah.
You see?
Yes.
Brings
Right.
us to a segment called Eye for an Eye. Phil?
Eye for an Eye, A Wrinkle in Time. Following the discovery of a new form of space travel, as well as Meg's father's disappearance, she, her brother, and her friend must join 3 magical beings, Mrs. Whatsit, Mrs. Who, and Mrs. Witch, to travel across the universe to rescue him from a terrible evil. The film stars Storm Reed, Oprah Winfrey, Chris Pine, Reese Witherspoon, and Zach Galifianakis. It is directed by Ava DuVernay, who has directed Selma and the documentary 13th. Rye, we throw it on over to you.
Matt, all honesty here, I don't know the book at all.
That's not surprising.
Is it a series of
Because
books?
you know why? Because it's joyful and delightful. That's why. You have no knowledge of such things.
Is it a series of books or just a
Yes.
book? Okay. So I have no knowledge of the whole entire series even existed, right?
Have you heard of a place called Narnia?
Then I saw like a little bit of a snippet. It might have been around the Super Bowl as they were starting to, prep the big movies for the year. And I got really excited because I thought, oh, I love a good fantasy adventure film like this.
And
This
who
could
doesn't
be really good,
Who doesn't love an Oprah Winfrey vehicle?
right? But then you read that synopsis, Mrs. What's it? What? Who? Ignore.
Are you serious?
No.
You've got to be out of your goddamn mind.
They're telling me that there's a character in here called What's It?
Okay,
What's it, Matt?
listen to me. These books are up there with Narnia and Middle Earth as being. Oh, absolutely, my friend. Madeline Langle. Listen, this isn't just my opinion.
What's
It's- Jesus, Ryan, you need to get out of your box here and read these books. They're absolute classics. They're treasures. They've been around for decades, and certainly up there with the ones I mentioned. Perhaps even up there with The Boy Who Lived Himself, Harry Potter. And I'm big time interested.
Wow.
And plus, Ava DuVernay.
I'm excited for that. And hey, all honesty, we are going to review this probably on the show next week. But I'm just saying.
I think you just
I'm
went
not that
ignored just to piss me off.
No. Javier, where do you stand on this one?
Okay, I'll tell you exactly how I feel. I didn't read the books, but I did watch the preview, the trailer at the movie theater. And I could only describe it in one word. And it was, meh.
Yes.
I'm going to be with Ryan here because I don't get fantasy stuff. I even didn't get the Lord of the Rings and all that stuff. I have a very hardcore meter for when it comes to the credibility of the story. I like drama. So when I see all these fantasies, my suspension of disbelief doesn't work. And I was watching the preview and all the rainbow makeup and all that. It felt like a commercial to me.
An ignore from Javier. Phil, where do you stand on this one?
I haven't read the books either. I think Matt might be the only one who has read them.
How are you
And
kidding
he
me?
holds them in such esteem. I can't believe it.
My mom loved the books, and she's been talking a lot about how she's excited for the movie. But yeah, I just like, I'm kind of with everyone else where like, unlike Javier, I love fantasy. I love it to death, but just not like this one. It maybe is like a little bit too loud for me. Like color-wise. It's like...
Jesus, man. I mean, listen, I haven't seen the movie yet, so I can't defend it. But I can say I've read the books, and they're freaking amazing.
Wow.
You should read them, Phil.
3 ignores for
He just felt like a modern Wizard of Oz from my point of view.
Could be. And listen, the movie could suck. I don't know, but I'm interested.
And it should be noted that Javier's movie, Regionrat, had like a lot of bongs in it, you know? It was a big pothead movie. So he was probably upset that, you know, he didn't see bongs in the trailer for A Wrinkle in Time.
Could be that.
Could be. Well, I mean, I don't want to put words in Javier's mouth. But listen to this. 3 ignores, Matt K, for A Wrinkle in Time, 1 interested. But we'll get a review out because it is a big, notable movie. And as you mentioned, Matt, it has Oprah Winfrey in it.
Oh, I love
exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll check that out. Speaking of new movies, huh, Matt?
Yeah, speaking of new movies, Duncan Jones brought us Moon and Source Code and, unfortunately, Warcraft. He's at it again with his latest sci-fi, Mute. Will it fall into the former or latter camp? We took to Netflix to find out.
I don't deserve you, Leo. I love you so much, but you don't know me.
I want to know what the deal is with this crazy bartender.
Sure you want our help with this?
This kind of thing hurts my reputation.
Daddy's gotta go. Oh, no soda.
All right. Having the shadow of an uber-famous father looming over oneself must be a mixed blessing at best. Duncan Jones, son of the late great man who fell to earth, David Bowie, has created a new film that is about parenthood, mostly, and dedicated it to his father. Protection, family roles, parenthood, and childcare are explored by Mute. I'm just not terribly sure that I heard what it was saying. The Ziggy Stardust seal of approval is all over this neo-noir landscape of 2050 Berlin, with its flying cars, exotic and/or robotic sex workers, and a thick layer of advertisements covering everything. It's not a new look per se, see Blade Runner, either one of them, but one that Jones pulls off well and understates just enough to give it believability. I particularly liked how opening credits and titles were mixed into the landscape, but I'm a sucker for that sort of creativity. The titular mute and hero of the story is an Amish and thus troglodytic bartender named Leo, played serviceably by Alexander Skarsgård. Wouldn't you know it? That Leo is in love with the cocktail waitress, played wonderfully by Zeynep Salah, and often rebuffs would-be unwanted advances from the rough-and-tumble clientele at the job that they share. What Leo doesn't know is that his girlfriend has a past and is mixed up somehow with AWOL military surgeon Cactus and his lackey Duck, played by Paul Rudd and Justin Theroux, respectively. Those two lend a self-admittedly by Jones MASH, the TV show MASH, on mescaline sort of vibe to the story. When Leo's lady goes missing, Leo is launched into a detective mode and hard-boiled shadow run to find her at any cost. Both duos in the film, the heroic and the villainous, are wonderful together. Salah and Skarsgård's scenes together in particular are among the best the movie has to offer, and Rudd and Theroux's relationship is so codependent and dysfunctional that it threatens to explode into violence and even murder at any second. It's delicious agony to behold. Where the film ultimately fails to launch is in its resolution. The twist, the comeuppance, and the epilogue all seem flat and unsatisfying, and in my eyes, did not live up to the potential of the first act. There's going to be a million puns about Jones still trying to find his voice and failing with Mute, but I will forego them. Suffice it to say, this is not as bad as Warcraft by a long shot. There are some great performances here. Rudd, in particular, gives us one of his most unhinged psychos ever, while still managing to be utterly charming and magnetic. It's easy to see why the other characters love him and tolerate his abuse. Sadly, the leads in Skarsgård may have been the weak link performance-wise. I'm just not sure he has the acting chops to play a dialogueless role. It's also easy to see how some might be a little more forgiving of a movie that comes out on Netflix versus the theaters. Perhaps you will be as well, or perhaps your time would be better spent rewatching Moon or Source Code.
Yeah, I think and it sounds like you're a little bit down on this film, but I think you're not being down on it enough. I think this was a complete mess. You actually believed this world. You liked the world building, I guess, created here.
So the environment, yeah.
I didn't at all. I never bought it. Never bought it. It
I
just
like the
seemed-
technology. It
seemed fake. It seemed not authentic.
that was the
from
part I
the
liked.
heart.
That was the part I liked the most.
Shame on you, Duncan Jones. If you're going to dedicate a movie to David Bowie, your father, don't do it with this.
Oof. I don't know if you
this
could go there.
crapper. Yeah, I can because I just did. It was just a mess of a film. You are
Yeah.
right about Skarsgård. I don't think I've seen him in a few things. He doesn't knock you out as being an absolutely outstanding actor by any degree, but usually he's very serviceable. But when you're got a role where you can't talk and everything has to be portrayed by facial expressions and emotions on screen, you're talking a whole different ballgame. And I don't think
Yeah.
he carries it at all.
No.
And I hated this idea. I mean, I liked the idea that he was Amish, but let's remember, it's supposed to be in the future. He would have grown up somewhat in this world. Even if you're Amish, the technology would have been around him. And what happens here is that he comes out like a fish out of water, way too far off. Like he literally has never seen a cell phone in his life. So that when they unpackage it, it's like
He's
this
never used one.
startling moment when it turns on.
See,
it was ridiculous.
I
I laughed.
completely disagree with you there. I think that was one of the more clever plot devices to introduce us through the world by making him a troglodyte. Perfect.
No, in fact, if you take away the fact that he's mute, there is nothing even interesting about the solving of the case. Like you said, there's this idea that, there's a little bit of a twist here going on, or a reveal, I guess, at the end. But as he's trying to track down what happened to his girlfriend, if he wasn't mute, what a boring, terrible film this would be.
I don't even think that him being mute made it more interesting, frankly.
Well, yeah, because he had all these runabout ways. I mean, you had at one point he gets a phone number and he has to look through the phone book, and he's doing all these sort of roundabout gimmick ways to try to get to the next step of solving this case. That would have been so much easier if he could have just said, "Hey, buddy, can I use your phone?" or
Yeah, is this the rejected Hardcore Henry script, the first draft?
I don't know. So and then the whole Paul Rudd. I don't know where you get this MASH thing. I didn't like Paul Rudd.
The MASH thing? Have
Yeah.
you seen the show MASH?
Yeah, I've seen the show MASH.
That was Hawkeye, and I forget the other character's name, but the two main, Alan, God, now I'm blanking on the actor's name too. The two main...
Alan Alda?
Yes, thank
Yeah.
you. Alan Alda and the other guy
Right.
from MASH.
Yeah, that's all he is, the other guy.
The other
Well, we
guy.
know Alan Alda. But yeah, no, I can sort of see that.
Paul
but
Rudd is Alan Alda.
it was quite a bizarre
Oh, yeah.
thing to have in the middle of this sci-fi film.
Super bizarre.
So,
And riveting.
and I hate weird for being weird, and maybe we'll get that with our 5 questions.
Yeah, so let's start right into those. Let's go with favorite scenes first.
I'll go with mine.
Sure.
Really quick here. There's an Easter egg, I guess you can call it, for Duncan Jones's Moon movie, which basically in a television background shows you what has happened to our main character, who is reprised here by Sam Rockwell. That was probably the best thing about this movie. It was the only highlight that I would say, wow, check it out for that if you're a fan of Moon.
Yeah. I liked the scene where she gives him this gift, and there's a drone that flies over and gives them their food, and they start throwing pictures up on these screens that are all around them. That's what I said about it was a believable world. They're still just sitting on a picnic table, but there's these little bits of layers of technology over it that made it feel sci-fi and real.
And I do, the one thing I liked as far as technology introduced into the film anyways is this idea that, and I could see this being very practical and probably something that's going to happen the next couple of years, where you would actually give your phone number to a food delivery place and it'll just track where you're at.
Yeah, that was cool.
And you could almost think well, yeah, that'll probably be happening in the next year or two.
Yeah, seriously.
I mean, you already got people doing Uber Eats,
Yeah.
and they're going to apartments. Why wouldn't they just track where? Hey, yeah, you're in the park. I'll just drive your food right to you. So
I mean,
it'll
the
probably
Uber
be
cars
happening.
already can, right? Yeah,
So that was pretty cool.
that was cool.
What about least favorite scenes?
Going with least favorite here is when Oh, I hated this part too. This is when the mute Alexander Skarsgård comes into a diner to confront a guy who he thinks might know where his missing girlfriend is, and it's there where he meets the daughter, the little girl, and he draws this picture. But in the meantime, while he's sort of threatening this gentleman, he looks over at these two guys that are supposed to be his bodyguards, and they got those like strange eyes and those black masks. And this is
I think
what
it was makeup, but yeah.
and this is what I mean. What it's weird for no other reason than to be weird. Like the two characters, there's no a reason why their eyes should look like that or they should be having those masks on. It's out of context of what we're looking at, and it's just supposed to be like a visually strange thing, and then there's no explanation. They just go on their ways. That's stupid.
I
Don't do
guess.
that.
I guess. But you know what? Sometimes exposition, sometimes less is more. Like, we're familiar enough with these sci-fi worlds to understand that meant that they were badasses, not to be trifled with.
But again, I didn't believe the world, so to me it looked like two guys sitting in makeup with contacts in.
I will say, I will say this, though. You don't show a gun and not fire it, and those guys were shown and never fired.
Nothing. They never even come up again.
Yeah.
So dumb.
Total waste.
Yeah.
Agreed.
How about you? Bad scene?
Bad scene, the confrontation, and I can't give too much away because this happens at the end, but the whole movie builds to this meeting of two characters, and eventually we get the payoff, and it is totally bland. Nothing really happens. Blah. I mean, there's some gore that was a little bit difficult to watch, but meh. I feel about the same as Javier did on the trailer for Wrinkle in Time.
What would you say the influences are for this film?
Influences I had down, it reminded me, as far as the detective side of the story, not nearly as good of a movie, sort of Memento, where Memento had this gimmick where he couldn't remember, so he's tracking down. This one had the gimmick of he couldn't talk and didn't use technology. And then it was trying to be strange like The Fifth Element and just misfired.
So this feels like a TV show to me, and influence-wise, I would say Black Mirror, and obviously, highly obviously, Blade Runner. And I'm not saying that those influences were well spent here. I'm just saying that they're influences.
Did you boys learn anything from this movie?
I learned, and I hate to say it, guys, Duncan Jones may not have it. I was so high on him with Moon. Thought Source Code was a solid sophomore outing. And obviously Warcraft, awful. And I got to put Mute in the awful category.
All right. I wouldn't go as far as to say awful. It's not great, but I think there's some good stuff there. It just didn't gel. What I learned was don't leave your kid alone at a brothel. I mean, there's a father who does this in the film, and yet he's concerned with her eating candy and drinking soda. I mean, get your priorities straight, dude.
How about movie poster quotes? That seems like that could make a good one.
Yeah,
it could.
Here we go. Mute may cause blindness and dullness of the brain.
All right. I went with better than Warcraft, but not as good as Source Code.
Let's assign some jaws here, Matt. I'm going a whopping 1 jaw.
Okay, so I'm a little kinder. I'm giving it a whopping 2 jaws.
There you go.
It's a middle of the roader at best, unfortunately.
Yeah, Javier, after that review, did we stir you in either direction? Do you want to check it out or just stay away or what?
That's a good question. I wish I would have known that this was going to be talked about so I could watch it with you guys. But I love Moon and Sam Rockwell. I love Sam Rockwell, who's going to pick up an Oscar this Sunday. And the way was described sounded interesting, but after hearing the rest of you, it sounds like it's crap.
I like you heard me say one jaw. I would stay away, Javier.
It is a funny thing. My wife, she is a hard lover of Blade Runner, and the problem I always have with Blade Runner is I never believe the atmosphere. I always feel like they were inside a soundstage, and sounds like, based on what I'm hearing, that could be one of the biggest problems with this film.
I don't know if it's the biggest problem, but it's
it's one of them.
Yeah.
I mean,
it sounds like in order for you to suspend your disbelief and believe this is happening,
that
might set you back a little bit. But you know what? It's Netflix, and usually Netflix It's a couple of interesting things, so I probably will watch it anyway.
That's really the best thing it's got going for it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, at least on that note, you're not going out to the theater and spending, $50 with a couple of movie tickets, parking,
Beer,
yeah, all that good
popcorn,
stuff.
right?
So,
It adds up.
yeah. But if you've seen it and you're listening to this and you have Twitter pulled up, shoot us a tweet. Let us know what you thought of Mute. We'll get the discussion going. Man, it does bring us to our top 5 this week. Stuck in a rut movies, getting out of a rut, getting out of circumstances that these characters are stuck in.
All right.
We're doing that in honor of the new movie Regionrat. And Javier, we like to let the guests get started. Did you have a tough time coming up with this list, or was it pretty fun?
Oh, no, well, here's the thing. Most movies have that going on.
They do,
And
True.
to some degree.
To
Yeah.
me, a good movie, when I know it's a good movie, is when I realize I don't want to be that guy. Most movies, for me, if I wish I wasn't that guy, that means it's probably a good movie. Now, I wasn't sure if Stuck in a Rut was going to be due to circumstances or their own stupidity. So I wrote about both.
Yeah,
could be either.
both.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What do you got sitting at number 5?
Okay, just like, you mean like, is 5 the worst?
Yeah, 5 the least, and then we're counting down to your number 1, your favorite.
Well, the thing is, I love films, so they're all my favorite ones, but the hardest core film I ever watched is The City of God.
Wow, he comes out with a heavy hitter. This is a big one, Javier.
I don't know if you guys watch it, but
Sure.
after that movie, you feel like jumping out of a window.
Yeah.
It's a hardcore movie about kids growing up in this kind of violence in Rio de Janeiro and just taking 2 different paths. I don't know if any of you have seen it.
I have seen it, and yeah, I would go as far as to say it's a masterpiece.
Wow.
Yeah, I love that movie.
But it's hard to watch. I mean, it's hard
for
to say I
sure.
want to watch it again.
Oh, absolutely. I've only seen it the one time whenever that came out. Throw that in the jaw box, will you, Phil, when City of God came out. But yeah, what a great pick. Matt, what do you got sitting at 5?
All right. I like to come out swinging hard as well. And Javier, I don't know if I quite got to the level you took it, but this is a classic. It's a comedy. Definitely stuck in a rut. Office Space. I think Office Space kind of is wish fulfillment in a way, like when you watch it, because all of us have had those experiences, the monotony and repetitiveness of a boring office job where you hear the person in the cubicle next to you answer the phone in an annoying way, and your boss comes, or your 10 bosses come by every 10 minutes asking you for the same report that you already filed, blah, blah, blah. And yet they sort of break out of this rut, or attempt to, in interesting ways in Office Space. I think it goes off the rails a little bit in the third act, but nevertheless, it's a classic comedy.
Yeah, I always talk about how I saw this before I started working, was when I had saw Office Space. So I laughed and I enjoyed the film on that level. But wow, after working in an office for 10 years and then revisiting the movie, whole other subject,
Indeed.
Yeah, love that movie. For my number 5, Matt, John Carney has given us 2, maybe even 3 great movies that are musical based. One of them being the movie Once, which in some way couldn't be stuck in a rut, where obviously Glenn Hansard is playing his music out on the streets trying to make it. But I talk about Once quite a bit on the show, so I decided to go with 2016's Sing Street, in which you got a young kid here who's really just trying to make a music video to impress a girl. But really what's at stake here, and what we learn, is that he's got this relationship with his brother. They're in Ireland, and they're just trying to sort of get out of Ireland, make it over to England, make it out to the rest of the world. Like their little world seems so small to them, and it's a very touching scene that his brother hadn't quite, ever made it, sort of like, get on the boat and just go.
Yeah.
Just
It's
leave,
a wonderful picture. Oh, I love it. I love that film. I love everything he's done. It's the same director as Once, right?
Yeah, same as Once, exactly. And
Yeah,
Sing Street.
both great movies, but the Sing Street is just charming. It's full of heart.
It is. And the part where I'm talking about at the end, where basically he's got to almost like run off and get on a boat with this girl and really just go for it, go for his dreams.
Yeah. No, it's incredible. It's a beautiful picture.
Yeah. That was my number 5, Sing Street.
Well done, Ryan.
Yeah. All right. We're off to a good start. We're into our 4s. Javier, what do you got sitting there, buddy?
Okay, obviously I'm the dark guy here. How about Midnight Express?
Wow.
I mean, it's okay to go dark when we're talking stuck in a rut. Some of mine go dark.
I mean, Midnight Express, again, this is the difference. Midnight Express is a film where Billy Hayes is not there due to life, but his own stupidity, which happens. And if any of you, again, you guys are young, I don't know if you ever got to watch this, but it's a film by Alan Parker about the story of Billy Hayes, which he was a kid that went to Turkey. And in an era where there was no bombings, but there was a little hijacking of planes, decided to try to bring some hashish for friends. And he ended up with a life sentence in Turkey.
I've never seen it. Have you, Ryan?
I have not.
Oh, it's heavy. And it was written by a young writer in those days called Oliver Stone.
Who?
Oliver Stone.
Matt's kidding.
Yeah, I'm kidding.
This one looks good. I'll throw this one on the queue and check this one out.
It's hard to watch. Again, it's one of those movies that, boy, you don't want to be there.
Yeah. Dude, good pick. All right, that swings it around to my number 4. And so I'm trying to go a little bit more recent. I've noticed a pattern in my picks. I tend to stick with the 80s and 90s.
I've noticed a pattern also, Matt, and it was more like...
My picks suck?
Yeah, they're terrible picks.
There is a pattern on the show, but it's just the opposite, Ryan. But I went with 2013's Snowpiercer.
I see where you're going with this.
Okay.
It's
stuck in a rut. Literally, they are stuck in a rut. They are on train tracks. The entire...
Really went for it.
Yeah. I mean, you can't get more literal than that. They're on the rails, barreling toward an unknown destination. We don't even know who's driving the train at this point, and ostensibly the entire human race is on board, just going along with it. They're just. Is it really freezing outside? We don't even know for sure.
Is Tom Hanks from the Polar Express actually the conductor of this train?
He might be, Ryan.
We don't know.
I mean, there could be penguins up there. Snowpiercer is it's a real treat. It came out of left field. Tilda Swinton, Captain America. If you haven't seen it, do yourself a favor. It's a fun, weird sci-fi movie.
Yeah, I like that one.
My kids loved it. That was kind of, again, it was a little too much for me, but my kids loved that film.
Good stuff. Swings it over to my number 4. And here is another time I picked a director, went with 2 of his features that both really, to some degree, are characters being stuck in a rut and sort of coming out of it. I went with Noah Baumbach, who gave us Frances Ha.
You love this guy. You love this guy.
And it's Greta Gerwig, and, she's coming of age and sort of really finding herself. I could have went there, but one I don't talk about enough is Ben Stiller in Greenberg, and that's where I went with my pick. And this is where Greenberg he's depressed that he's not done better in life. He's in that kind of stage.
Honestly, I thought you were going to go Squid and the Whale.
No. That's really not so much stuck in a rut,
Arguably.
But he could have did better in life, and he ends up house sitting for his brother, looking over the person's dog, and the dog gets sick, and he ends up running into Greta Gerwig, and things change, and he finally has that moment of enlightenment, if you will. That it seems all of Baumbach's characters in some way find it.
I agree.
I like all of his movies, and I do want to say Ben Stiller's great at playing this character. Stuck in a rut, finding himself, going on an adventure. We'll get more on Mr. Stiller in a minute.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Teaser. Spoiler alert. Foreshadowing.
Javier, what do you got sitting at 3?
Well, let's switch it over to other ways to get stuck in a rut. If anybody watched Sam Mendes' Revolutionary Road.
Ooh. This is a nice pick.
Marriage.
Yes.
Stuck in a shitty marriage.
Javier, is your wife around?
No, she's not. Of course, otherwise I wouldn't be telling you any of this stuff.
She's going to probably hear the podcast.
No, it's a great movie about this, woman trapped in a miserable marriage, and it's pretty powerful. And of course, it's Leo.
Yeah,
and,
it reunited Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet.
Yeah, and I don't know if you recall, the guy that was there back then. It wasn't famous, but it was Michael Shannon.
Mm-hmm.
and he steals 2 scenes in that movie.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I remember that in particular because Michael Shannon's came through the Chicago theater scene, so we were very familiar with him. And I remember talking about, wow, this Michael Shannon's going to be somebody. I mean, he was just in a movie with Dicaprio and Winslet, and he more or less steals the show. So
He stole those 2 scenes, yeah, and now he's a huge star.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oscar-nominated film this year.
Yeah.
Could be a winner. All right, that swings it around to my number 3, and this is where I put, hey, Javier, same kind of subject matter, stuck in a marriage. This is 40. I don't know if it's maybe because it just sort of found me at the right age, like sort of entering.
What age was that?
I'm not saying, but entering, middle-aged years, and Paul Rudd and Judd Apatow. I thought that the collaboration between these two guys is always good, but this one was particularly good. Leslie Mann also puts in a great performance. The script, I think what makes it work is it's honest. It's about the monotony of getting older and all the weird things that come along with that.
I have to agree with you because I think Apatow's previous features that he was associated with here were sort of screwball, They weren't nearly as honest as this particular feature.
True. And it's funny because this one is almost pointed at as one of his lesser works, but I think maybe with the test of time, we'll see it'll be sort of lifted up as one of the more honest and mature works by him.
Yeah, if you watch that movie and you're over 40, if you have kids, you spend part of the movie going, yeah, that's right.
Very true.
That's what makes it work for me. Yeah.
Good stuff. Matt, I teased Ben Stiller would be back on my list, and here he is. My number 3 pick, also starring Ben Stiller. This one came out in 2013 in a movie I haven't talked about much here on Cinemajaw, maybe since we reviewed it. I'm speaking of The Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
Wow. Yeah. That's a bit of a deep cut.
And he plays Walter Mitty, who is, talk about a negative Nancy, right? Talk about stuck in a rut, looking for some adventure in his life. And he finally goes out to track down the photographer who is played, it's this like elusive photographer who's played by Sean Penn, who ends up mailing him a package of negatives that it's going to be Life magazine's final issue. And this famous photographer sends him a bunch of negatives and says, negative 55 or whatever the number is should be the cover. And he can't find that particular negative. And he goes out on this adventure to find this photographer and finally lives his life, All right, let's get on with the list here. We're into our 2s. Javier, what do you got sitting there?
How about, I don't know if anybody read Tobias Wolff biography, This Boy's Life. Anyone?
Yeah, This
I've
Boy's
not
Life.
read- no.
Is this also DiCaprio?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I've seen it with him and De Niro.
It's him and De Niro.
Yeah.
It's got a mom that, she's trying to find love, falls in love with Robert De Niro, who's brutal with his adopted kid or step-up kid. And this kid, Tobias Wolff life is just misery. And that's where his book came from.
Sure. Yeah, this is a great one.
I don't know if I've ever even, I'm not aware of this movie.
Yeah, I've brought this up. It's come up numerous times on Cinemajaw, either in trivia or on top 5 lists.
Well, I don't listen to you.
Yeah, you don't listen to me. But This Boy's Life, definitely, it's a must-see for both DiCaprio and De Niro's performance. It's awesome.
Okay.
And it's a young DiCaprio. How old would you say he is here, Javier? Maybe 10 or 12?
12 to 14.
Yeah, 12 to 14.
Okay, so where does
probably.
this fall, like, as far as Gilbert Grape, before or after? I mean, it must have been after,
Oh, it's
right?
after.
Okay.
Yeah,
After.
yeah. But throw it in the jaw box, Phil. How old was DiCaprio in This Boy's Life? Get an idea for us. That's good. Nice pick, Javier. I like that one. Matt,
All
what do you got there?
Swings it around to me at number 2. Talking about stuck in a rut, I'm still stuck on marriage. The War of the Roses.
Oh, that's great.
I think this might be the best divorce movie of all time. I really don't know how you could possibly top it. The chemistry between Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner was absolutely palpable, right? I mean, you could feel it. Fresh off of the Jewel in the Nile series, they were just great together. And this movie, they brought that and then turned it on its head with some really violent and disturbing fight scenes that it just went off the rails. There's a car driving through the house at one point. It's like the worst fight you ever had with your spouse or your girlfriend or boyfriend times 100.
Mm-hmm.
And then it keeps going from there.
And I always appreciate movies where something happens, be it a car drives through the living room or there's some type of major destruction and nothing ever gets cleaned up. And you see that destruction later on in the movie. And that's what I remember about The War of the Roses. There's moments where they go back and you still see the destruction of, you know, certain things that have taken place in the house.
It's darkly comedic. Also, an early, if not the debut of Danny DeVito as director, who also collaborated on the, let's throw that in the jaw box. He was also in the adventure series that they did together. So
yeah, I wonder if that was his debut. I didn't even know he directed that, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. Wow, good pick. Swings it over to my number 2. Could be stealing anybody's number 1. It's that strong of a pick. But I went there with my number 1 pick. I think it really is about this main character being stuck in a rut, yet he is a genius, Matt. I'm speaking of Matt Damon in Good Will Hunting. And in fact, the entire line that we sort of get emotional about is this line between Ben Affleck and Matt Damon where he talks about his favorite moment every day is getting out of the car, that 15-minute walk to your house, hoping that one day I'll knock on that door and you're just not there. Because he realizes
it's meant for bigger things.
Yeah, he's just not going for it. And if he just keeps doing the same old just because his buddies are doing it, it's a loss. It's a big L for Matt Damon, the genius,
right,
for Will Hunting, if you will. And of course, that all comes to fruition when he finally, meets Minnie Driver and, has his talk with the great Robin Williams and sort of gets on his toes and
has to go see About a Girl.
It ends so beautifully with him finally getting on the road and going to see About a Girl. And it always ends and it's a very uplifting ending where you just really hope that it works out for the guy.
Yeah, you're right, man. Of all the crappy sequels we've ever gotten, I would have.
What?
I just want to. I want to know.
No.
I want to know what happens.
That's terrible.
Is it?
Yeah, we don't want to know. Leave that movie alone.
Yeah. Oh, please do. But I would have liked to have known.
Yeah. All right, here it is. Our number ones getting out of a rut here. Javier, what do you got sitting there?
All right, I'm gonna go with the Christian Bale, little Christian Bale, not in Batman, but in The Empire of the Sun.
Wow, going old school here. Old school Spielberg.
Old school. Again, I'm talking to 3 very young people there, so I don't know if any of you watched it.
Oh, yeah, I've seen this one.
I have too. It's been quite a while, though.
Yeah, well, if you recall, it's just this little British kid, completely spoiled, living in Shanghai, rich family, and then the Japanese come over and take over. And he ended up in an internment camp for a few years by himself with no parents. And talk about being stuck.
Yeah.
He has to survive, and it's brutal. Talk about being stuck in a rut. This is a perfect example of survival.
Yeah, and then you get treated to that wonderful scene where the P-51 comes, the Cadillac in the sky. Love it.
Yeah.
Great one. Nice pick. I think that is a worthy number 1. Matt, can you follow it up?
Sure. That's the film that sort of gave us Christian Bale.
Well, yeah. Then he disappeared for a long time because he didn't...
He had done Newsies prior to that.
Yeah.
Which was in, comedy.
Yeah, and he wasn't one of these that I recall like being super famous, all throughout the time. It was more like then it was all of a sudden, American Psycho, and it was like, that's the kid from,
right, and then he was Batman.
Yeah.
Right. All right. So, all right, this might be a bit of a cheat, but when you think about being stuck in a rut, one of the things that at least comes to my mind very readily is writer's block. Okay, so what's the best writer's block movie? It's The Shining.
Right.
I see you kind of rolling your eyes.
Yeah, it took a while to get to the bell.
I mean, what is that? Is that kind of too easy?
Yeah, it's okay.
We talk about it a lot, but it's Stanley Kubrick. It's Jack Nicholson. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. He is stuck in a rut. He typed a novel with 1 sentence. He can't break through his writer's block. to the point where he goes psycho. He has like a psychotic break. I mean, anybody who has been affected by writer's block at least once in their life can relate to that. And it is absolutely.
Was it writer's block or he was just nuts?
I think the writer's block drove him nuts.
But he was just nuts.
It could also be the Overlook Hotel. It could also be that he was just nuts. I think that interpretation is up to the viewer. But one thing for sure, he was stuck.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. I guess the film's got so much more going on that I wouldn't look at that as a stuck in the rut film.
Well, you got to
That's all I'm saying.
It's the writer's block perspective that I'm going for.
Okay.
Which is definitely being stuck in a rut.
Okay. For my number one, I went with an animated movie just to make Phil happy. This one came out in 2015, and I don't think we've seen stuck in a rut, going through the motions of life, ever captured in a way such as this. And of course, leave it to Charlie Kaufman to do a little spin on things that we hadn't quite seen before. I'm going with Anomalisa.
Oh, I want to see that. I haven't seen it.
This is an awesome film. You're going to love it, Javier.
I heard great things about it, and nobody in my house wanted to go with me.
You got the main character's name is Michael Stone, and he is like basically a I don't even want to say motivational speaker. He's a speaker for customer service. So he goes around. He's written
He's
books.
it's like a consultant or
yeah,
coach.
and he goes out and he talks about how to be better at your job at customer service, that kind of stuff. And as is doing his travels, every voice that he hears in the entire movie is voiced by one other person. So that's like the day-to-day, crap that he just can't get through. There's nothing that excites this guy in life anymore. Everybody, if it's a flight attendant, somebody at the hotel, it's all the same voice in the movie talking to him. And eventually he meets a stranger, Lisa, who has a different voice. And it obviously represents, we're looking at something so much bigger here. It represents when you finally meet somebody that is that little breakthrough, when you're having that moment where you're in a rut. It could be in a relationship. It could be, a dead-end job. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you have a moment that it's a reminder of what is special about life. It gets you excited about being alive again. And that's what happens here in this wonderful movie that also happens to feature probably, if not the best, the second best animated sex scene.
Wow. What would you say is in contention for
Well,
number one?
I think the big one that we've talked about here is
Team America.
Team
World
America,
Police?
yeah. So, yeah, I love this one.
I mean, when you're talking puppet sex, really, it's kind of a short list.
Yeah. Anomalisa. Check it out. I
All
love that one. Any honorable mentions before we go to break?
I got none. You?
I went with Sideways.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was thinking, obviously, the Paul Giamatti character there is definitely in a rut. And
Writer's
then
block.
Writer's block. And then, he goes out there, he meets a girl, and he gets excited again. And he can't get past the breakup, too, of his ex-wife.
True.
So, any for you, Javier?
Oh, my God. I could go on forever, and it'll just get darker. So.
Give us a couple, though.
Sure. Angela's Ashes.
Ooh, yeah, dark.
Castaway. The Pianist.
It's a good one, yeah.
The 8th Mile.
Another good one.
People stuck. Like I said, if he's stuck somewhere and I don't want to be him, it's probably a good movie.
Yeah.
and you're right. It's definitely something that's in a lot of great movies.
Yes. If we missed your favorite Stuck in a Rut movie and you have Twitter pulled up, or you want to write us an email, you can write us at Twitter, feedback@cinemajaw.com. Either one of those. Get to us. Get the discussion rolling. That's what we like. What we're going to do, Matt, is take a quick break, grab a fresh beer. When we come back, Javier is taking Matt on in Wrinkle in Time trivia, plus a CinemaWAR looking at great 80s sci-fi. We'll be right back on Cinemajaw.
Let's all go to the lobby.
Hey Jawheads, it's Matt K. We wanted to remind you guys to check out Elias's new movie, Think Twice Film. He just released it out on YouTube, and it's hilarious. It's a short movie we think you should really check out. Go to YouTube, search Think Twice, or bit.ly, it's bit.ly/Think Twice Film. You can check it out there. He's been talking about this for over a year. You gotta watch it. It's worth it. Do it.
To get ourselves a treat.
And We are back on Cinemajaw, hanging out with Javier Reyna, who has directed Regionrat. And one question I do have for you, going back to Regionrat, Javier, is when you're making a movie, and especially a movie that took you this long to make, when do you finally know it's done? You know, like you're going through post-production, and you're when do you finally say, out into the world you go?
Never. Never. The movie just gets taken away. You never do.
That's a sad answer.
I'm watching the film, the festival, and I'm thinking, God damn, I need to go back and do something. I need to do this. It never ends. When I hear the director going, man, I watch my movie, man, I love it, I feel like they're full of shit. Because any artist I know, they're never 100. You always, because you learn through the process.
Sure.
You're doing something and you learn something. By the time you're to the end of it, you realize, I could have done something better here or there. And you always want to go back and make it a little better. That's my opinion, anyway.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know who to attribute this quote to. Maybe we could throw it in the jaw box. But there's a great quote that says, "Good art is never finished, only abandoned." So
it's true. I agree with that.
Yeah. So again, Javier, for the listeners that want to check out Regionrat, maybe when it comes to a town near them, or just follow along and support independent cinema, the best place to learn more online is?
It will be on Facebook, Regionrat Movie, Twitter, Regionrat Movie, or on our website at regionratmovie.com. All the updates will be up there.
Do it, Jawheads,
yes.
Because as I say, me and Matt have seen Regionrat, and it is very worth your time to check out. I think they will enjoy it, and I'm hoping big things, because that means we can have Javier back on for his next feature.
That would be fantastic.
Wouldn't it be?
Yes.
Good stuff. Now, Matt, before we get to CinemaWAR and before we get to trivia, we did throw a few items into the jaw box, and I know Phil wants to get out here and, maybe smoke one of Javier's bongs. Let's open up that jaw box.
What's your pleasure, Mr. Cotton?
The box.
What's in the box?
Hey guys, I'm sorry, I forgot my inhaler at home, so I might be coughing a bit today. Let's get right into it, because we had a pretty stuffed jaw box today. Our first question: when did City of God come out? That was in 2002.
Wow, going back some time.
Yes, feels recent, but not so much.
Yeah,
scary. I saw that in the theater. Scary.
It's an oldie.
Yeah.
Then the next one, how old was Leonardo Dicaprio in this boy's life? Speaking of throwbacks and oldies. So that movie came out in 1993, and Leo was 19.
19.
Very
definitely post Gilbert Grape.
That's how old the actor was. He's definitely playing younger in the movie, as we alluded to. He's supposed to be more like the 13, 14-year-old.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Was War of the Roses Danny DeVito's directorial debut? It was actually his second directorial movie. He was the director of Throw Mama from the Train with Billy Crystal.
Wow. Jeez, I didn't know he directed that either.
And then the last one that was kind of stuffed in here really quickly, I think I got it right. Good art is never finished, only abandoned. That quote is by another classic Leo, arguably the most classic Leo, Leonardo da Vinci.
Boom.
Wow.
Matt K dropping Da Vinci quotes on you.
I've never heard of Da Vinci. I only know DiCaprio.
Oh, he had a code.
Yeah, his movies aren't very good.
No. He's not the king of the world, is he?
Not that I could see.
That was everything?
That was all.
All right, get back in that jaw box.
Can do, thank you.
Yep. Man, it brings us to a segment called
CinemaWAR.
It's CinemaWAR, and it works like this. Me and Matt, we're fighting on a topic. Our guest, Javier, gets to play judge, jury, and executioner and tell the listeners who he thinks won the CinemaWAR. And it's important because we're fighting for jaw time to rant and rave on whatever we want. A lot of good sci-fi coming out these days. Got us thinking, huh, Phil?
Yeah, science fiction is hot right now. And so that got us thinking a lot about our science fiction gems from when we were kids, or at least when you guys were kids. Which 80s sci-fi classic holds up better? Matt, you're going to be fighting for John Carpenter's They Live, and Rye, you'll be fighting for David Cronenberg's The Fly. Let this totally rad CinemaWAR begin.
Matt, be afraid. Be very afraid. The Fly is not just classic 80s sci-fi. It's one of the very best films of all time. The premise alone is fantastic. A scientist is transformed into a fly-like creature when one of his experiments goes wrong. And who do they cast? Jeff Goldblum. Talk about perfect. The Fly is still creepy today.
Vincent Price did it better. Let's get it out of the way right up front. Both men are masters of their craft. Both of these are examples of fine specimens in film, but one of them has permeated pop culture, design, and art, Ferry Shepherd, anyone, and yes, even pro wrestling to near total infiltration. They Live is more important because it outlasts The Fly. It lives on in their larva.
Are you kidding me? The Fly won for best makeup that year, and the irony here of seeing this wide-eyed scientist so hungry for his new invention to work slowly mutate into one of the grossest movie creatures of all time is pure genius, and it's still a joy to behold.
The Fly is fun and gooey and gory, but where is the cultural relevance to today? They Live continues to look more and more like our actual modern world. We sleep, they live. I wouldn't be surprised if I put on a pair of sunglasses and saw those images out there for real. The Fly, it's a fantasy.
But looking at these two directors, Matt, The Fly came out in 1986 and still to date is David Cronenberg's most successful film. Gina Davis, fantastic in her supporting role. And as far as They Live, you ask a group of 10 people standing inside a AMC lobby, about 9 of them will probably not even know what the film is you're talking about. Meanwhile, they all know The Fly. It's a classic.
Disagree. Any film fan worth their salt loves They Live. Let's talk about the effects. You mentioned these before. Cronenberg was a master, okay, and he went for it. And at the time, the look was revolutionary for mainstream audiences at the time. However, Carpenter's effects were understated, grand but understated. The rough edges are visible on The Fly. This is not the case with They Live. It holds up. Less is more, or at least longer lasting.
I disagree, Matt. Nothing here is more painful than almost having it all only to be tripped up by a little insect, a fly to be exact. Out of these two films, you have to ask yourself, which one can you go back and revisit the most for classic sci-fi? No question. Goldblum, oozing out of his own skin, wins out. The Fly is vintage 80s sci-fi horror and stands above all.
I don't know. I would go see They Live 1,000 times. Go teleport yourself to another planet, Rye. Cronenberg's The Fly is a masterpiece, but not one that can take a suplex from Rowdy Roddy Piper and the master, John Carpenter. Even the music holds up better, as evidenced by hundreds of homages like in Stranger Things, Black Mirror, and the list goes on. I think more than anything else, the art design of They Live alone makes it the clear winner. The Fly sleeps, They Live lives.
We are button heads here on CinemaWAR. We do it each and every week. We throw it to our guest, our jury. Javier, what did you think of this CinemaWAR?
I have to go with The Fly.
Yes.
Oh my
yes!
God!
Right out of the box.
And I watched They Live when it came out in theaters, and I remember my favorite scene was Keith David in a fist fight with this other guy with the mullet.
Yes, that is a great
I
scene.
thinking it was a great fight because there was no special effects. It was at that point it was just a fist fight. But then I watched it again. And it became a bit of an SNL kind of bit by the time I watched it again with my kids. It was creepy, but it's one of those movies that probably will be worth the remake just because the tools they have today, where The Fly is still creepy.
Mm-hmm.
I watch it right now, still like, oh, God, my finger came off. Yeah.
But wait, you know what? Okay, Ryan wins this. But,
I won.
You win. But I want to
That's
put.
8 in a row.
Did the Shepherd Ferry or the Ferry Shepherd stuff
won 8 in a
was
row.
that lost? Yeah, Ryan wins 8 in a row.
Hold on, I'm on my phone.
Was the Ferry Shepherd reference lost on you, Javier? I mean, like They Live.
No, I totally won 8 in a row.
Oh my God! All right, I'm gonna stop. I'm just gonna stop. But the design, the art design, I think is important.
Yeah, enough, man.
I'm done. What's your rant? What's your rant?
I am still perfect in 2018. We are in March, and I cannot lose at CinemaWAR. This is incredible. You got to admit, this is one hell of a role I've been on here.
It's one hell of a role. I know how it feels, Rye, because I've done it.
A long time ago, though. This is the modern age of CinemaWAR. Okay? This is,
I did it. It's been done.
All right. Hey, 8 in a row. All right?
All right.
Pipe it over there.
Enjoy your moment.
Pipe it, I said. 8 in a row.
Go.
Pipe it. All right. I do want to give a shout-out over to the Gene Siskel Film Center. I remember we went over there and we recorded there.
That was fun.
And it was a blast. But I have to be honest. It was this great concept where they play a lot of smaller movies. Sometimes they even have, European film festivals come through, which I believe is going on in March right now. But the theater wasn't up to snuff when it came to all the new technologies.
Sure.
So I went back over there just recently to catch up with The Breadwinner and was blown away that they have redone the screen, the surround sound, all the seating in there. And my favorite part, they play the previews about 15 minutes before the start time of the movie. So if you go see said movie at 8:15, at about 8 o'clock when you walk into the theater, there's previews playing. And then about 8:13, the curtains close for about 2 minutes. It goes dark, and right at 8:15, the movie plays.
Wow.
What a great concept.
How's that for honesty?
The Gene Siskel Film Center, if you're passing through Chicago this summer, it's right there, right on State Street and Lake. You can't miss it, right across from Chicago Theater. Make a pit stop, see a movie.
And they are not, full disclosure, not paying us for this.
No, they really aren't. It really is just a rant, a
All
rave.
right.
In this case, a rave. So,
Well, that's good use of your time, I
Yeah.
guess. Enjoy it while it lasts, buddy.
there you go. 8 in a row.
Have
Thank
you chosen Carpenter's The Thing?
Ooh.
Yeah.
That would have been a different story maybe, because compared with the remake, I think the original is still better.
No, I agree. I mean, you know what? The Thing is probably the superior of those two, but I've got a special place in my heart for They Live.
Yeah. Hey,
But I agree with the fact that you ask 8 people, probably 8 women will be like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yep.
That fact, I don't know. I disagree.
Yeah, no, I agree. I made the fact, so I agree. All right, it brings us to trivia. So, A Wrinkle in Time is coming out, and it has a large cast, including Oprah Winfrey. So we are playing Wrinkle in Time cast movie trivia. Javier, you're our guest. You get to choose if you want to go first or let Matt go first. There are steals if the person doesn't know it. And if you get hung up on any question, you get one Fill Me and Phil. They do start off easy. Hint, hint, Javier.
Okay.
Do you want to start first?
So you're going to ask me a question?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
That's a yes. He wants to start first.
All right. We'll go at number 1, I guess, then to Javier. Question 1 to you. Chris Pine plays Captain Kirk in the new Star Trek movies, but what actor plays Spock?
Oh, I have no clue.
I guided him to go in first.
No clue.
Incorrect. I've seen No Clue in other movies, but he was not in Star Trek.
He's in a lot of movies.
Oh, he's in a ton. I mean, when we play trivia, he comes up all the time.
The guy from Heroes, we talked about Hayden I can't pronounce her last name. Yeah.
Need an answer here, Matt K.
I'm blanking. Silas, I don't know. What's his name?
Wow.
Blanked on it.
Nothing on question 1. We're looking for Zachary Quinto.
I knew it was another Zach. Yeah.
Zachary Quinto. 0s on question 1. Question 2 now to Matt K. Matt, Oprah Winfrey, also known as Oprah, appeared in 1985 movie that was directed by Steven Spielberg. Name it.
The Color Purple.
Okay. That should have been question 1.
Yes. Yeah.
1-0, Matt K. Question 3 now back over to Javier. Javier, what was the name of the 2014 movie in which Reese Witherspoon hikes the Pacific Crest Trail?
Oh, I saw that. Was it The Wild?
It was Wild. We'll give it to you. Wild.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Good movie, right?
That was good. Yeah, actually, make me curious about the whole thing.
I agree. 1-1. We got a ball game here. Question 4 now over to Matt K. Matt, Zach Galifianakis has appeared in one movie that won the Oscar for Best Picture. Name it.
I got it.
Ooh. Matt right now is thinking, The Hangover won Best Picture?
I'm raising my hand.
Gotta let Matt have a guess first. Hold on.
Moonlight? I got no idea. What was he in?
Whoa.
Oh, okay.
Javier's got a chance for a steal and to take the lead. What do you got, Javier?
Birdman.
What one for them?
Birdman.
Oh, man, that's a bit role.
He's in it.
He is in it.
Yeah.
He's good.
He's really good in it. Too.
Yeah,
It's a
no,
little dramatic.
absolutely. Just
Yeah.
couldn't come up with it.
It's 2-1 Javier, and question 5 is over to him. What a swing we got going on here. Javier, in 2014, the actor Michael Pena, who was also in A Wrinkle in Time, Michael Pena appeared in this World War II movie with Brad Pitt that showcased a U.S. tank crew. Name it.
Okay. That's the one with Keith Woods' kid. Ah, shit, hold on.
It was Michael Pena, Brad Pitt, World War
Yeah.
II.
Oh, God. It's just he's done like 3 movies where he's what do you call it?
A soldier?
He's military.
Yeah.
Yeah. Probably more, honestly, if you count World War Z.
I know. I just watched him in 12 Strong.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Oh my God, what's the name? Because I know it was done with I think it was done with Eastwood's movie. With Clint Eastwood's son was in that thing.
He's on the hot trail for sure. Anything.
I'm thinking. I'm having a brain fart, man.
I get them all the time, especially during this segment.
I know it's like I know this movie, and then when you ask me, it's like my brain is like, what is it? I can't recall another movie. I didn't see it, but I know what it is. But I can't recall the name right now.
Wow. Matt, you got a guess here?
Okay, it's not Tank Girl,
No, it is not Tank Girl.
which is an awesome comic book adaptation, arguably. Was it War Dogs?
No.
No?
Incorrect. We were looking for Fury.
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 Yeah.
Yes.
Should have gone to the ER on that. I bet you it was a fun
Yeah.
clue.
Still 2-1. Javier in the lead, and question 6 is over to Matt K. Matt, in the 2015 movie Hot Pursuit, Reese Witherspoon was a cop trying to protect the widow of a drug boss. Which actress played the widow?
She is so forgettable, unfortunately.
Reese Witherspoon and who in Hot Pursuit? And you do have a fill me in fill.
I
if you need
know.
it.
I know.
And it's a tight ball game. It's 2-1.
Yeah, this might be the place to go for it, especially because I'm kind of like I bet you a clue would help. All right, fill me in, Phil.
Oh, fill me in, Phil. Phil, who starred in Hot Pursuit with Reese Witherspoon?
Your clue is, she is a part of Modern Family.
I don't watch TV.
Hey, Javier, like the clue.
That helped me not at all. Can I get a pun for her last name or something?
The voice didn't even help?
No, I know her voice. I don't know her name. She's, a very well put together young lady. Jesus, I got nothing. Nothing.
That is absolutely incorrect. Javier, you got a chance for a steal here and to blow this thing wide open.
Okay, here's the problem. If I know the name, that means I have watched the movie, which I will be very embarrassed to admit. So I'm going to say I didn't watch the movie, but I know it was Sofia Vergara.
Yes. Indeed it was Sofia Vergara. Yes, 3-1 Javier blows it open here. It's question 7. He can win it right here. Javier, in 2010, The movie Unstoppable was about a runaway freight train. It starred Chris Pine and who?
Denzel.
It's over. 4-1.
Hey, it could be a different Denzel, man. Don't be so quick with that bell.
Give me another Denzel.
I mean, he's not
Denzel
Oprah. Has he
Was it
reached?
Denzel Lopez?
I mean, has he reached Oprah status?
Denzel Lopez?
Is he
Wait a minute.
Cher?
Wait a minute. He answered incorrectly.
Denzel Winfrey.
I really like Denzel Lopez. It was that actor, Denzel Lopez. All right. No, he did get that correct. It's 4-1.
All right. Okay. Yes.
The last question. Save some face here, Matt. Back to Zach Galifianakis. Zach and Steve Carell made one movie together. It was a remake, and it came out in 2010. Name that movie. Zach Galifianakis, Steve Carell, one movie together, a remake.
Were they both like smaller parts in the movie?
No, they were the stars.
No.
They were the stars?
Stars.
I feel like I should know this.
You should. That is incorrect.
Yeah.
Do you know this one, Javier?
Dinner, is that Dinner for Schmucks?
Yes.
Oh, Dinner for Schmucks.
Wow. He crushes this one.
It's forgettable. Forgettable.
Yeah, for those two being so talented, it didn't turn out to, I think, what everybody had thought it would be. So, but Javier wins this one 5-1. He actually crushes Matt Kay.
Crushed me. That's the worst ass kicking I've gotten in a while.
Yeah, except for my 8 in a row in CinemaWAR. But
that's bound to not get to my 10 in a row.
Virtual handshake, guys.
Virtual handshake.
Yeah. If it came down to a tie, Javier, we call it a jawbreaker here. This question actually would have been over to you. From The Color Purple, who would you rather sit down and have a dinner with, Oprah or Steven Spielberg?
Oprah.
It's incorrect. It's actually Steven Spielberg.
Oh, I thought it was. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
Oh, okay.
It's not a very good joke.
No,
but,
no. The real jawbreaker is this: age of Oprah Winfrey closest to. Matt?
Ooh, wow. That's actually a really interesting question because she's timeless, right?
Yeah.
Sort of ageless, too. She's definitely aged very gracefully, I would say. But she's got to be well into her 50s, perhaps early 60s. I will say 59.
Phil, lock him in at 59. Javier, you got a guess?
I'm gonna guess 60. Is like The Price is Right without going over, or just the closest?
Closest to.
I'm gonna guess she's in the late 60s, 67.
Wow.
We'll give that one to Javier barely. 64.
Oh, wow. Okay, so mid-60s.
Yeah. She's getting up there.
She is. I was way too young, though, so, yeah.
Yeah. Good age, mid-60s to be president.
I mean, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I know. I agree. That's what I want to talk to her about.
Yeah.
I think everybody does.
Good stuff. Oh, man. Brings us here to the end of a great job. First and foremost, we got to thank Javier. Thanks for calling in and being on Cinemajaw.
Oh, guys, thank you for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
And best of luck with the feature. And hopefully, if you do, definitely get into one of these select festivals up and around Chicago. Definitely reach out to us.
Yeah, of course. We'll let you know.
Make a point to get some people out, too.
Yeah, please do. We'll definitely be there in force.
Yeah, call the guys at the festival. Say, hey, we want to watch this, bitches.
Yeah, I love it. We also got to thank our sponsors.
Yeah, all the great sponsors we have, like Overcast and the Chicago Podcast Co-op, who help us get those sponsors.
Yeah, we also got to thank Filmy and Phil in the fish tank. Thanks, Phil.
Yeah, not a problem, guys. Thank you.
Also, as promised, we also want to give the Jawheads a reread of the riddle.
Sometimes my choice in partners is dubious. I was with my teacher, a cruel man, and even a serial killer. But my time with Spider-Man was rather pleasant. But you know, I love to hike. The thing with pachyderms is you need to keep them hydrated. Vote for me. Who am I?
Wow.
Yeah, that's all over the place, huh?
Yeah, this is good stuff.
I like it.
People's minds are whizzing around. We might not even get a correct response.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only March.
Unbelievable.
They're just going to get harder from here.
Unbelievable. I'll tell you this. After doing this podcast, I'm not stuck in a rut anymore.
You're definitely not, Ryan.
No.
You know what? You deserve this. I'm kind of happy for you, but I'm getting a little nervous about my CinemaWAR record.
Yeah.
That 10 in a row.
I'm coming for it.
Oof.
Yeah. Until next week, I'm Ryan the Movie Guy.
I'm Matt Kay, and keep on jawing about the movies.